Let me get my acting face on.
This is Ben Reiter, senior writer at Sports Illustrated, and you're listening to The Bandwagon.
All right, this is Nolan Gerrity from the UMBC Retrievers, and you're listening to The Bandwagon.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Today is Wednesday, April 4th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning into today's edition of the Bandwagon Sports Podcast. Great show for you today as Sports Illustrated MLB writer and possible psychic Ben Reiter, as well as UMBC forward center. He's a junior. I always say that after his positions. Nolan Gerrity, the Fortnite guy from UMBC, joined the program. As always, from a university in the middle of Wisconsin, in my dorm room. My name is Alex Strofe. You can find me on Twitter at Alex_Strofe. And joining me, as always, from the University of North Carolina Podcast Lab, Mr. Victor Hensley. You can find Vic on Twitter at Frezeal, F-R-E-Z-E-A-L 33. That's Frezeal 33 on Twitter. Mr. Victor.
How you doing, my friend?
I am one shining moment. I don't know. I'm doing well, but college basketball's over.
You're a one shining moment.
Bah! And just punched him right in the jaw. I was feeling like Rocky. I got to look at the drunk driving arrest with my fine-tooth comb.
What was the last thing you jumped on?
The bandwagon.
I kind of hate the college basketball season's over.
Yeah, it is slightly disappointing. But we talked about this earlier today during prep, that the women's Final Four was better than the men's Final Four.
100% agree. 100%. The men's Final Four, no offense, was awful. It was awful.
There was no good games in the Final Four.
I mean, the Loyola-Michigan game wasn't awful. I mean, it ended up being, like a 12-point game, so it's not – final score really wasn't that close. And then Villanova just demolished Kansas. And then obviously the title game was the same way, which we'll get into that in just a second. I'm thoroughly disappointed with this tournament. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm thoroughly disappointed with the way this tournament went. Yeah,
I mean, it was there was a lot of good stuff. I mean, the Loyola Chicago run was obviously fantastic. Michigan's run to the Final Four was terrific. Buzzer beaters. UMBC, as we mentioned, that was terrific, beating Virginia in a blowout. Even though blowouts aren't always very fun to watch, that one obviously was. The first couple of weeks, or even more the first weekend than anything, was good. But the rest of it wasn't all that exciting. I mean, there were some good games, like an Elite Eight game, Kansas and Duke. That was a good game. But after that, it really seemed like there was not very many good games.
Well, as I talked to you about earlier, is even in the Elite Eight, there was like 2 games that were decent in the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Kansas Duke, which is good. Florida State and Michigan was. I mean, that was all right. That wasn't too bad. The other 2 games were atrocious. I mean, the first round was great. Upsets galore. UMBC, Loyola Chicago, Marshall, Buffalo. I mean, it was insane.
Awful.
But then you went to the second round, and UMBC looked atrocious, scoring like 40 points in their game. Buffalo got beat by 20. Marshall got beat by like 20. It was fun, but Loyola Chicago was the only true team that could sustain any kind of progress, which is kind of annoying. Because here's the thing, Alex, is we all looked at Virginia's region, right? And said, after the first 4 seeds fell, we said, Kentucky, that right there, they're going to kill it. They're going to bulldoze everybody.
They had the easiest route, and then Loyola took over.
Loyola took over. What we never talked about, and what hasn't really been mentioned as much, is that Michigan didn't play a top 5 seed at all.
Yeah, that really wasn't talked about until the championship game. They're the first team ever to make the championship game without playing a top 5 seed.
The highest seed they played was 6, and that was Houston in a game they shouldn't have won, and I still believe that. They didn't play tough competition, and that was the thing, is I don't think Michigan should have been there in the first place. I watched their first round game. I think we talked about this last week. I watched their first round game against Montana, and they looked so bad, and then they barely beat Houston on a buzzer beater that if they would have guarded the end better, they wouldn't have hit. I'm still salty about that. I don't even know why. But other than that, I just don't feel like Michigan should have been in the national title game.
I feel like, I mean, obviously they got there, so hindsight's 2020. But I don't know. That team was electric from the Big Ten tournament on. They had two really close ones, and like you mentioned, they probably should have won that game against Houston. And they did have a really easy road. But nonetheless, I think it was a fun team. I don't know if they were deserving of only a 3 seed.
I think they were deserving of a 3 seed. They were the hottest team coming into the title game. I think they had like a 14-game winning streak, which is the longest in the NCAA, which is all well and good. That's fantastic. But they, in my opinion, they just weren't, of all the teams on that side of the bracket to start, they were one of my lowest, like, top seeds. Like, I felt like Arizona, Virginia, Carolina, Kentucky, I thought all those kinds of teams, Cincinnati, were better than them, right?
Yeah.
So then, I guess, to me, it's just kind of annoying that they had such an easy route, got to the title game, and then just got blown out and didn't even have a chance. You know what I mean?
I mean, away from Michigan, the way Villanova played that entire tournament was absolutely breathtaking. It was really no, and it was absolutely insane. They won all of their games by 10 or more points.
It was the first time it's happened since 2009 when the Tar Heels did it. Go Heels! Yeah, I think they've had the third highest margin of victory in a tournament ever.
It felt like those Kentucky teams. I mean, probably 5 years back now when they were undefeated going into the tournament. Now, obviously the Badgers knocked them off, but seriously, it felt like a Kentucky team from 5 years ago where they were just rolling. There wasn't a team that could beat them. There was not a good matchup. I mean, the MVP came off the bench, for God's sake. I always screw his name, Dante DiVincenzo or something like that. DiVincenzo or Chinzo, there it is. Very Italian-like. The guy comes off the bench and drops 31 in the national championship game. Yeah. That's insane. And it just shows the depth, the coaching style that Jay Wright presents, and the history and what's the word I'm looking for? The absolute just legend that is Villanova basketball.
Yeah, I don't know if they're a dynasty at this point. I heard somebody
That's
say
the word I was looking for.
I don't know if I'd consider them a dynasty at this point. I mean, they've won 2 championships in 3 years, but I mean, their last championship since then was decades ago. I don't know. I was incredibly impressed by Villanova. Jalen Brunson is amazing. He didn't have the greatest game in the title game, which is fine because he didn't need to. And that's the thing, is you mentioned the depth. This team, like I said, was not going to be beat. From the get-go, they looked perfect. There was a time in, I guess it was, what was it, maybe the Elite Eight when they played West Virginia. They played West Virginia in the Elite Eight, and they looked like they struggled there for a minute, then they got it going in the second half and won by like 15.
No, in the Elite Eight, it was Texas Tech.
Yeah. Okay, whenever they play West Virginia.
Sweet 16.
They looked like, okay, they might take an L here. They might take an L here. And, of course, they didn't. That's kind of how it was in the title game against Michigan. I mean, at the beginning, it looked like Villanova. It looked like Michigan had Villanova on the ropes. And then all of a sudden, I look away for a second, come back, and Villanova's up by like 5. And I'm like, okay. And they just never turned back. So they deserved it, 100%. They were the best team in basketball. I think they were better than Virginia this whole time. Virginia really was only there because of their defense and how phenomenal it had been all year. But I think Villanova was the most complete team, much better, best offensive team in the country. They deserved it. In Philadelphia, man, they're racking up some titles this year, aren't they?
Talk about a title city.
Title town.
Yeah, watch it. Trust the process is next, right? I mean, they're now on an 11-game winning streak as of Tuesday night.
They look like they might be a 3 seed in the East too. They might take over Cleveland and keep that 3 seed in the East. So I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think they're going to win it, but stranger things have happened. The East is not that great. So imagine if the Sixers came out and won it all. Imagine that.
This East is insane, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in later this week.
Playoffs start next week, I believe.
Start next week. So we'll talk either later this week or next week about the NBA a little bit more. But let's jump into the other sport that just started, and that is the MLB. We're almost a week in here. So how are your O's looking?
Well, we're recording this on Tuesday night. We are playing the Astros right now, so the game's not over. Right now, we're 1-3. Not looking too hot.
I feel that. The Brewers, as of right now, as of recording, are 3-1. They're looking like they're going to be 3-2. They're down 4-1, bottom of the seventh to the St. Louis Cardinals. Wasn't a good start to the game as a first batter and second batter for St. Louis hit back-to-back homers, but
you know what? It happens. I mean, in our game, we had Carlos Correa hit a 2-run inside the park home run. So,
okay, can we talk about inside the Parkers?
Okay.
Edwin Encarnacion hit an inside the park home run. Mm-hmm. How about that?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't know how you hit one.
So I don't know if you saw the Encarnacion one, but he hit it off the left field wall, which ricocheted, and that would have been the left fielder ran into the wall. Didn't fall over, but he ran into it because he was going toward the ball, and then it bounced back towards center field. But center field the center fielder was still running, and there was confusion. And by the time the ball was picked up, Encarnacion was already ran in third.
Yeah, that's kind of Correa hit one off the wall that Trey Mancini in the outfield should have caught. He didn't catch it. It bounced like right beside his glove off the wall, and then it just rolled. It kept rolling, and Adam Jones, the center fielder, could not get to it in time to throw. As soon as Adam Jones picked it up to throw it in, Correa was pretty much at home plate.
That's fantastic.
And I mean, I think there's been a decent amount of inside the Parkers.
There's been like 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, in the first 5 games, which is insane to me. I guess outfielding's starting to be a little sucky.
A little shaky out there.
Speaking of shaky outfielders, how about Giancarlo Stanton in New York?
Okay. Strikes out, what was it, a 5 strikeout performance by him?
A platinum sombrero, yes, sir.
A platinum sombrero, I like that.
Yeah.
Never heard that before. I like that.
There's a gold sombrero for 4 strikeouts, platinum for 5.
What's like 6 if that happens? I don't think that happens.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could happen.
What's better than platinum?
I don't know. Is there anything better than platinum?
I'm not sure. But anyway, so congratulations to Giancarlo Stanton in his home debut at Yankee Stadium. Wins a platinum sombrero. I'm going to steal that. I love that. Gets booed by Yankees fans.
How ridiculous is that? Let's put this into a little bit of context, Alex. He struck out 5 times in a game. That's not good. A couple things. It was his debut in a Yankee uniform at Yankee Stadium. He's the reigning NL MVP. He's been pretty good over the last few games for you. The first few games of the season, he's not been bad. And the best part for me is the fact that when he struck out, they were up 9-4, and they ended up winning 11-4. It wasn't a close game. Like, I understand if you boo somebody and you're down by 3 runs and you're frustrated, or if it's like 6-0 and this dude struck out 5 times, you're frustrated, you boo him. You're up 9-4. He's a reigning NL MVP. You guys are paying him like $295 million over the next few years. Like, don't boo him in his home debut with you guys. Like, chill out. That fan base is garbage. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. No offense, guys. Fan base is garbage.
No offense, but you guys are garbage.
I mean, I don't know how you do that. Like, I'm a fan of booing players. There's some people who, like, if you boo players, they get so upset. I think that's ridiculous. Like, sometimes they deserve to be booed. In this case, since when, like, what? It didn't make any sense to me. I don't know how you feel about it, but, yeah.
You don't boo your own players. I feel like that's an unwritten rule, Victor. It's an unwritten rule.
No, we're not even going to talk about the unwritten rule with the Twins, Brian Dozier, however the F you say his name. We'll talk about that later. I gotta get some stuff off my chest.
Okay, I'm good. We'll talk about that because we really do need to talk about that.
That makes me furious still to this moment. But
let's get into one more thing before we get into Nolan Gerrity, and that is something that we talked about. As I've mentioned multiple times in this podcast, I'm a big WWE fan, big professional wrestling fan. It's WrestleMania week, and we were talking a little bit about WrestleMania week. We'll jump more into that a little bit later this week on our Friday episode. But I do want to bring up, we got into a conversation as we were talking about WWE and also UFC a little bit. What happens if you kill a man in the ring?
That's a great question. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Because I imagine you don't get charged, like especially in UFC more than WWE. Because I guess in WWE you could jump onto a ladder and break your freaking neck. But in UFC, what if you kick somebody, they collapse a lung and they die?
I mean, wow, I feel like you can't get arrested.
I imagine because the point is trying to beat the shit out of your opponent, right?
Correct.
But if you kill him, like what happens? I don't want to see anybody die. That's not what I'm saying. But I want to know what the hell happens.
So what it sounds like you're saying is that you kind of want this to be put in action. You kind of just want to see what happens.
Not even necessarily. It's just a matter of I am curious as to what would happen.
Okay, I decided to look it up, or Jim Nance, our stat guy, decided to look it up.
Thank you.
This says, let's see. The question is, if a fighter killed another fighter during a UFC or MMA title fight, playing by the rules, under what circumstances could he be charged and convicted of murder? This guy says this. Kent Fung says this. In the United States, a certain amount of violence is deemed legally acceptable in most sports, under the theory or argument that once you step on the field of play, you're acknowledging and accepting the risk that a certain level of violence will take place. The justice system gets involved only when it is clear that the violence that took place is more than any reasonable participant in the sport should have or would have expected. This is why hockey players generally not get prosecuted for fistfights on the ice, but a player who commits assault using a hockey stick can expect to face prosecution and very possible conviction.
Okay.
Combat sports operate under similar legal conditions, and if the violence that occurs seems reasonable to experienced participants and observers, then even if a death occurs, the fighter can expect to avoid more than a cursory examination by law enforcement or prosecutors. So essentially, if you're doing it under the rules, if you kill somebody under the rules in UFC, or I guess WWE, WWE might be different though. I don't know because it's fake.
But there's still real risks. That's why they say don't try this at home.
Right. So obviously, if it's within the legal parameters of the sport, you can't get charged. So if Conor McGregor came up and just punched Floyd Mayweather twice in the head, and his skull collapsed and he died, which I don't know if that's even really that possible.
Right.
But if his skull collapsed and he died, technically Conor McGregor couldn't be charged for that.
There you go.
So, okay, that's understandable. That's good. That's something I would be worried about a little bit. Like, if I'm a fighter, it's like, I want to hurt this guy, but I don't want to hurt him too bad just in case. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But I guess it'd be the same thing as they couldn't be charged for assault, because that's literally the sport. So
right. Okay. Thank you for looking into that. I was very curious, and it was on my mind a lot today, Victor. So thank you so much for
was it bothering you?
A little bit.
Yeah, I figured it was. You tend to worry about things. So last thing I think before we get to Nolan Gerrity, there's a big trade that happened in the NFL today, where the Patriots traded wide receiver Brandon Cooks to the Los Angeles Rams in return for, I believe, a first-round pick and like a sixth-round pick. And I think the Rams also got a fourth-round pick from the Patriots. So we were talking about this earlier today, actually, before this trade even occurred. We were talking about who is the biggest winner of the NFL offseason. You were watching a segment on NFL Network, correct?
NFL Live.
NFL Live.
ESPN.
ESPN's NFL Live, my mistake, that talked about this. So who was the final? They had like a bracket, right?
Yeah, so they had an 8-team bracket, 4 from the AFC, 4 from the NFC. And the final 4 was the Redskins, the 49ers, and I forgot what the 2 on the AFC side were. The Texans and somebody. But anyway, the Texans and the Browns. Yeah. So the Rams didn't even make the Final Four. This was before the Brandon Cooks trade, but I forgot that they got Marcus Peters. And then they got to keep Talib and Ndamukong Suh on their defense. And now they have Brandon Cooks on offense. I'm scared of the the Rams.
Right. So what you were talking to me, right? And I looked at you and I was like, we were talking about this, and I said, you know what? I wouldn't have the 49ers on there. I don't even know what the 49ers did. They signed, Jerick McKinnon, extended Jimmy Garoppolo, which was going to happen.
Signed Richard Sherman.
And then signed Richard Sherman, who's coming off a torn Achilles and is old. And then Washington didn't do almost a darn thing that matters. They got Alex Smith. They traded for Alex Smith at one point. They got like Sua Craven. They traded the Broncos for Sua Craven, and then signed Paul Richardson or something like that. Like that's all they've done. So I looked at you and I was like, nah. If I had to pick two from the NFC, Los Angeles Rams and the Green Bay Packers are my two. And then the Los Angeles Rams, in my opinion, have won the offseason.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then later in the day, they traded for Brandon Cooks. Like, they only further won the offseason for me. Like, they're going to dominate next year. In my opinion, they're going to dominate. I mean, they've got Jared Goff, who's very good. He's a rising quarterback, potentially one of the best potentially the best young quarterback in the NFL. Carson Wentz might be ahead of him. Deshaun Watson could potentially be ahead of him. But Jared Goff's very, very good. They've got Robert Woods on offense, I believe, which I'm a big fan of Robert Woods, even though he's kind of underrated. Todd Gurley in that backfield. Brandon Cooks, Tavon Austin. Like, they've got some weapons on that team, man. And then that defense is just Aaron Donald, Ndamukong Suh. I can't even talk about it. They're going to be very good. So I'm sorry, man, but your Packers might have to watch out a little bit.
Well, my Packers are already in a tough spot because I think the Vikings have the NFC North probably locked.
There's a potential. I don't know. Kirk Cousins is iffy. I don't know. You never know with Kirk Cousins.
There's a good chance Minnesota wins their third NFC North title in 4 years, which is scary. So then we have to make a wild card spot. And the Rams will obviously win the West. There's not much competition over there anymore.
Seattle. Seattle's decent.
Eh.
Hey, Arizona's got Sam Bradford.
Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. Former number one pick.
Stay woke. Just saying.
The NFL is. I'm so excited. I am so darn excited.
Do you know how long it is till the NFL season starts?
It's a long time from now.
It's what, like, how many months? It's 5. September.
Yeah,
What month is that?
Yeah, September. We're probably more than 5 months away.
That is awful. This sucks.
This sucks. No, it doesn't suck. It's big upsets, and that's what UMBC did. When they defeated the number one overall team in the NCAA tournament, Virginia, let's bring in the forward center and the Fortnite guy, Mr. Nolan Gerrity, to the bandwagon. We are joined now by UMBC Retrievers forward center. He's a junior. His name is Nolan Gerrity. Might be a Fortnite god as well. We'll jump into that in just a little bit. But Nolan, thank you for joining us today on the bandwagon.
No, thanks for having me.
So I guess let's start with the big news of your life in the last month, and that is a 16th seed, which was you guys, UMBC, knocks off the number one team in the country, which is absolutely freaking insane. I got to know, has this really hit you yet, that this is like one of the biggest upsets in sports history?
It hasn't hit me to that magnitude. Like, I know that we've, done something really cool and we've accomplished a lot, but just the magnitude of it and the lasting impact still hasn't really hit me yet. I don't really think it will for years to come, to be honest.
Well, so we watched your vlog, of the whole journey that you guys had, which is great, by the way. But it just seemed like the entire time before the game, you guys were so confident that you were going to come in and beat Virginia. I mean, that's the number one team in the nation, the number one overall seed. They had 2 losses, the best defensive team in the country, I believe. Like, there's so many things. Virginia should have beaten you guys by 40. By everybody else's standards, they should have won by like 40. But you were so confident and came in and just knocked the wheels off of them. How did you guys stay so confident? What was your mindset going in?
Well, I mean, we kind of knew going in we didn't really have that much to lose. Like you said, nobody expected us to win. So, we can't, underperform. It's either we do what we were supposed to do or we, shock the world. And, we know if we can hit our shots, we can play with anyone. So, luckily, we were all hitting that day. And, the best case scenario happened.
So I noticed during your game on TV, they spelled your name wrong. They put Nolan or something. I don't even know how you pronounce that. Noaln, I think is how they put your first name. It's Joe Sherburn's cover photo on Twitter. Why don't they put respect on your name, man? Why don't they put any respect on your name?
Listen, man, my name has been spelled been spelled wrong my entire life. So, I mean, that's nothing new. But it's just, it comes with a unique name, I guess.
And I just got to, put you on the spot real quick. What was the better feeling? Was it actually beating Virginia, or was it having everyone know, y'all's name and going viral after you beat Virginia?
I want to say right now the better feeling is like no longer having to explain what UMBC is and just like the love I've been getting. But I think for, like years down the road, it's definitely going to be what we accomplish as a team. So a little bit of both, I guess.
Fair enough. So obviously you became, Nolan, a kind of a sensation when you said it's like getting your first Fortnite victory, explaining that win. So I got to ask, you guys are obviously pretty big Fortnite guys. The whole team has been. We found that out. You met the Fortnite guys. You guys talked a lot about it. But I got to know who's the best Fortnite player on the Retrievers team.
Yeah, Brandon Horvath, number 12, definitely the best. I always give him the credit whenever people ask, but he's really good.
Now, how good are you? Well, what's the best? How many kills have you gotten in the game? What's your best number? How many wins? How many solo dubs do you have? Like, I got to know the details.
I don't really play a bunch of solo because I like to talk and hang out with people while I'm playing. So I usually play squads or duos. But I got about 10 solo wins. But that again, I barely play it. I'm a pretty average player, but I've got a 10 kill solo win, so that's pretty good.
Wow, you're just so you really wouldn't even throw your hat in the ring for being the best player on your team, huh?
No, I mean I got to give people credit where it's due. Brandon's definitely the best player, but I'm no schlub.
So you guys, if I'm not mistaken, you guys played Fortnite like before your games and stuff, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like almost a tradition, especially on the road. Like the night before the games, the day of the games when we have like little lulls in the day, we play all the time.
Would you guys say that would you credit Fortnite for your little run you had?
I don't know if I can credit them, but they definitely put a little fuel to the fire. They definitely hyped us up a lot. So big shout out to them. Shout out to Epic Games, but. Yeah.
So I gotta ask, before the game, or maybe it was after, but I know you went down to saying that UMBC wasn't a Cinderella team. Why is UMBC? Why would you explain they're not a Cinderella team?
I just, kind of we talked about earlier, like this didn't seem like a big shock to us. It was a shock of how much we beat them by, but it wasn't
right.
A shock to us that we won. I mean. I think that kind of goes along with the score. I don't think a Cinderella team would have beat Virginia by 20. I think we proved that we belong there.
Okay, that's fair.
What was it like in game? Like when there's 5 minutes left, you're already beating them handily. Like how are you sitting there feeling in the moment? Like wow, we're really about to take down the best team in the nation.
I was just eager for the buzzer to finally hit 0 because when you're playing good teams, you're like, all right, they're going to make a run. They're going to make a run. So it's like. 15 minutes to go in the half, we were out. I was like, all right, they're going to make a run soon. They're going to come back. And 10 minutes to go, I'm like, all right, they're going to put together a run. 5 minutes to go, I was like, I don't think they have enough time to make a run. And then finally the buzzer hit 0. But there wasn't I could tell we were going to win, but there wasn't a moment of relief like, okay, now we got this. Because, the whole game we were still worried that they were going to put pieces all together and figure it out, but they never did, thankfully.
So I do have to ask because, I don't know how much attention you pay to the box score post-game, but looking at the box score of the Virginia UMBC game, Nolan Gerrity comes up with 1 rebound. So I got to ask, is that the most important or the best, most memorable even rebound that you've ever had in your career?
Last year we played Citadel, and I had some pretty close rebounds to help us beat them in double overtime. So I don't know if it's the most important, but it might be the most memorable.
Fair enough.
Is there any chance you're gonna find a picture of that rebound and hang it in your house 20 years from now and just and show your kids and your grandkids hey, this was me, by the way. Your dad got a rebound against Virginia. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we put it in quotes below, no rebound. But no, I mean if you guys have a picture of that, definitely send it my way. But I haven't seen it yet, so I'll have to keep scouring the internet.
I could probably.
We got. Oh.
I mean,
yeah,
I like
draw
that.
Pictures, send them over to me.
Okay, gotcha.
I like that. That's a good idea.
I'll hook you up.
Good idea. I like that. I love it. So we like 2 things on the show, Nolan. Those are confident answers and starting rivalries. So would you consider yourself, UMBC, your team, the best underdog of all time?
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, I had one of the Florida Gulf Coast players DM me and said that we took all their hype away, so that was good to hear. But I just told them they have to get it back next year. So I'd say for right now, we're the best underdog.
Now, what's going on next year? Should we expect the same thing? Is UMBC going to come out and do it again?
It's going to be hard to. Yeah, it's going to be hard to live up to that. So I guess the only thing to do is hopefully we can draw Kansas State and we can get some revenge on them. But other than that, I don't really see how we can top this. We just got to kind of try and do the same thing.
So, Nolan, every once in a while with our guests, we play this game called Vic's Picks, which is where Victor takes things and he compares them, and he puts them basically against each other. So I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. Victor's going to throw a couple things at you, and we're going to see what you prefer, if that's all right with you.
Sounds good.
30 seconds on the clock whenever you're ready, Victor.
All right. Martha Stewart or Tony Stewart?
Ooh, my dad's a big race car guy. I'd be killed if I didn't say Tony Stewart.
Jalen Ramsey or Jalen Rose?
Jalen Rose, 81 ball.
Tiger Woods or Winnie the Pooh's home, 100 Acre Woods?
Tiger Woods, baby, used to go.
Nickelback or Humpback Whale?
Nickelback.
Ray Charles or Charles Barkley?
Charles Barkley, for sure.
Mike Greenberg or Seth Greenberg?
No preference. We'll go Mike Greenberg.
Tony Bennett or Tony Hawk?
Tony Hawk.
Last one.
Nolan Gerrity or Nolan Bushnell, which is the founder of Chuck E. Cheese?
Nolan Gerrity.
Okay.
Nolan Gerrity, baby.
I got to do this last one. Blanket forts or Fortnite?
Fortnite, baby. Come on.
Come on, but blanket.
You're not a blanket fort guy, huh?
Blanket forts. Come on, man. like you know when you were a kid, you loved some blanket forts.
I did, but I think I'll be playing Fortnite longer than I'll be making blanket forts. Until I make one with my kid, I'm gonna say Fortnite.
That's fair.
Bad answer. Okay.
So I gotta ask, we mentioned you're a forward center, and for people that don't know you're 6 foot frickin' 10. So I gotta ask, that probably brings both like perks and struggles. So what are like the best and worst parts about being 6 foot frickin' 10?
The worst part is definitely people coming up to you. It's the same conversation every time. It's how tall are you? Do you play basketball? And then if it's a mom, she usually tells me that her son is tall, and then she'll say that he's like 6'2". So that's definitely the worst part. But the best part is, it's a little bit similar. I get a lot of people that come up and talk to you. You meet a lot of different people just based on they have an icebreaker. But I'd say the benefits outweigh the struggles.
Fair.
What's the coolest moment of the last couple weeks for you?
I guess just seeing my face on everywhere, even the Sports Center Instagram and everything. That's kind of what's been like the most eye-opening to me. Just is how big this has become. But I'm sure there will be bigger moments in the near future.
Couple more questions before you let you go, Nolan. I was scrolling through your profile on the UMBC Athletics website today, and I noticed you were I'm going to try to not slaughter this, a management of aging studies major. Can you explain to me what that means?
I will explain to you that I recently changed my major to media and communications because that's more like a lot of my interest. But to be honest, I just kind of didn't really know what to pick, so I picked management of aging because they said it was just something that you can, get your feet in, and it's a, good community of teachers and stuff. But it's actually pretty interesting stuff. It's like about how the community is getting older and like how you can help them and all that kind of stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, I have never heard of that before, so that's why I wanted to throw that out there. Fair.
So we had Zach Seidel on the show a couple weeks ago, the Twitter guy. I'm sure you know him. So we asked him when we had him on a couple weeks ago. We asked him, why should new recruits? Now he gave us a little pitch, and I want you to also give us a little pitch. Why should new recruits choose UMBC over all 346 other teams?
Well, we're the only one of our kind. We're the only team to be the only 16 to be a 1 seed, so they should want to be the only 16 to make it to the Sweet 16. Be a part of history again.
I'm going to pair our last question for you with my outro for you. So this has been Nolan Gerrity of UMBC, a forward center, 6'10". You can find him on Twitter at NoloJeezy. That's NOLOJEEZY. This is my last question for you, Nolan. What the hell is NoloJeezy?
All right, so when I was in high school, the song "The Motto" by Drake was really popular, and there's the YOLO.
Yep. Okay.
Someone changed it to Nolo, and then quickly became that if I ever start a rap career, Nolo Jeezy would be my name. So there's a lot of different, palpitations of it. You can do Nolo Jeezy La Flame, Trill Nolo Jeezy, but Nolo Jeezy is the name.
Well, hey, if you ever release that single, we'll happily play it on these airwaves.
All right, I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right, will do. Nolan Gerrity, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are joined now by Sports Illustrated senior baseball writer and part-time sidekick, if you will. Mr. Ben Reiter is joining us today. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I don't know if I'm psychic as much as somebody who got lucky, but it clearly was on a national stage. So I guess I'll take that reputation if you're going to give it to me.
I'll give you whatever you like, because like I said, you're part-time psychic. We'll get into that a little bit later. But first, we're just a few days for opening day in baseball. But I want to know what your opening day is going to look like. Are you going to be sitting in front of like 13 televisions like it's the opening day of March Madness, or will you actually be physically at a game, or what's your opening day going to look like then?
Probably more the former. Maybe one TV, or maybe have a computer going with a couple games on. But I got to tell you guys, right now I'm actually on book leave. I'm writing a book about the topic the prediction that you alluded to a little earlier. So I'm actually off right now from Sports Illustrated for the next couple of weeks. So my personal opening day will probably come around April 15th.
Okay, so now that you're bringing it up, we got to bring it up. So the aforementioned prediction that you're referring to, for those listening that aren't aware, Ben Reiter is a psychic. In 2014, he wrote an article that was featured on the front page of Sports Illustrated, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but you predicted that the Astros would win the 2017 World Series in 2014, and then obviously that's exactly what happened. So now you're on book leave. You're writing a book about that?
Well, it's not so much about the predictions, it's about how the Astros went from being the laughingstock of baseball, the laughingstock of all of sports, actually, in 2014, how they turned themselves into a world champion in just a matter of 3.5 years. So that's what the topic of the book is. But yeah, really the way they did it is in the way that we identified. And we don't want to take too much credit, obviously, for this cover prediction. What it really was meant to do was to bring attention to the fact that the Astros had come upon a new way of attempting to win back in 2014. They were at kind of the low point back then, but clearly they quickly improved.
Well, okay, Ben. In about 2014, somewhere around there, I decided I was a big NBA fan. I still am a big NBA fan. So I constantly said in 2014, I predicted that the Orlando Magic would win the NBA championship in 2017. That didn't happen, obviously. So my thing was just a guess. I'm a Magic fan, so I was like, this is going to happen in 2017. Was your thing a guess, or did you know, analytically, strategically, that the Houston Astros were going to win the World Series in 2017?
I mean, look, anytime you predict that a team is going to win the World Series, even in a given season, it's a guess on some level, right? Like baseball, more than any other sport, is difficult to predict, largely because of the randomizing nature of the playoffs at the end, right? It's a pretty rare year where the best team actually becomes the champion. So you've got only about a 20% chance or something of, the best team in any spring training probably has about a 20% chance of winning the title. When you extend that out 3.5 years, it's like, some luck is going to have to be involved. We can say that. However, what we did think was that this was a team that had a plan, and that had a plan that, if it was going to work, could work as soon as 2017. And their plan was obviously very driven by data to guide all of their decisions, but there was a lot more to it than that. And one of the more interesting components of it was that they brought back in a factor that a lot of other data-driven organizations, not just in sports but everywhere, had come to reject, and that's the value of human experience, human gut, human instinct. They listened to what their scouts had to say, and they came up with a way of synthesizing it with all that data they had. And, I'd encourage you to read the book, which comes out in July, if you want the inside story of just how they did that.
Well, we'll definitely read the book because we've had a couple different authors on here that released books which have been phenomenal. So hopefully we can keep that trend going for us. But so that said, I want to bring up some of the pieces you've written recently in SI, and one of those is where you talk about the Astros turnaround. And another team that could potentially maybe need to look at that Astros-like turnaround was the LA Angels. But then, rather than doing that Astros-like implosion, then they signed, I can never say his name, but Otani, the Japanese, who's supposed to be a monster. We'll jump into the hype around him in a little bit. But is there a team that you see that could maybe use this style that the Houston Astros did and just burn itself down to build itself up? I think it's one way you phrased it in that piece. Is there another team that could do something like that?
I actually think there's not, and there's a simple reason for that, which is that there's so many teams who are now trying to do it at the same time, right? Like back when the Astros were doing it, they were the only ones. You could say the Cubs had pursued something of a similar strategy, but it's not like teams across baseball were tearing themselves down to such a significantly degree to build themselves back up. This was their competitive advantage, really. They were so committed to doing this. But look around the league now, guys. I mean, the White Sox are doing this. The Tigers are doing this. The Braves are doing this. The Pirates and Reds are doing this. There's like 8+ teams in baseball who are now in the middle of this teardown process. There's only one World Series ring at the end of any season. There's only one number one draft pick you have every year. I think whatever competitive advantage the Astros sees with this strategy is gone. So, no, I think the way the Phillies are doing it now, which is kind of by like spending money when they see opportunities to spend money wisely on someone like Jake Arrieta, for example, or Carlos Santana, that's going to be the way. It's going to be more of a hybrid approach than a complete teardown going forward.
So I was going to ask you actually, which you kind of just answered the question, I guess, but since you're so great at predicting things, this is obviously like a strategic analytical prediction, but do you have like a prediction for like the 2020 World Series you can give us real quick? Just, throw one out there. See if you can get famous again.
I do. I'm afraid it would not make me famous, though, because my genuine prediction for 2020 is much less of a surprise than it was for 2017. I just look at the Yankees, and I see a impending dynasty once again, kind of 20 years after they had that great Jeter, Posada dynasty. I know a lot of people aren't going to want to hear it. But look, you look how good this team is now. They came within one game of making the World Series last year. They weren't even trying to make the World Series last year, right? That was not part of their design, but they almost did it. Now they've got Giancarlo Stanton aboard, and they've still got the wherewithal to spend more money than everybody else, Dodgers notwithstanding. And you happen to have the greatest free agent class of all time next winter, led by Bryce Harper and Manny Machado and maybe Clayton Kershaw. The Yankees are going to get involved in at least one of those guys. It's hard to have a dynasty in baseball, but I'm afraid we're looking at another pinstriped one. But not yet. Yep. Not yet. I think we're still a couple years out on that.
Brian Cashman has led this team to insane heights at this point, if you will. But I want to talk about another piece that you wrote in Sports Illustrated. One of your most recent ones was about Stanton, as you mentioned, going to the Yankees and going back to December when that move actually happened. I just want to know, with a move of that profile and that level, when a guy, an MVP caliber guy like Giancarlo Stanton, goes to a team of that level, like the New York Yankees, that affects not only the Yankees, not only the Marlins, but that affects the whole baseball world, right?
Yeah, it does, for sure. And, it's not like the Yankees are not paying for him, right? A lot of people are like, oh, they got him for nothing. Well, that's not true. They're going to have to pay him, well over $200 million for the next 10 seasons, which is a real cost. That's really what they were assuming there was the cost of his contract. Yeah, you're right. When you have the NL MVP and the runner-up AL MVP in the same lineup, that's certainly hard to compete with. But from an entertainment perspective, there's going to be no greater show than the Yankees, and what's baseball about if not for entertainment? They're actually talking about opening up Yankee Stadium early just so home fans can see the entirety of batting practice of Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. That's how big the clamor is going to be to see these guys. So on a competitive level, I don't know if it's that much of a problem, but on an entertainment level, it's certainly something to be welcomed.
Right, and I want to bring up that same piece you wrote, how the Yankees weren't originally gunning for Stanton necessarily. They were going for the aforementioned Ohtani from Japan, and he ended up signing with L.A. So going back to Ohtani, I mean, this guy has had an absolute, pretty much an awful, I think would be the best word, spring. Can you touch on Ohtani out in L.A. And what his potential is, maybe? Because it doesn't look very good right now.
Well, look, I mean, it's a small sample size, guys, right? It's a 23-year-old player who's coming to an entirely new country, to an entirely new league, at the same time trying to do something that nobody's ever done before, pitching and hitting simultaneously. I think if you didn't expect some sort of very steep growth curve, you've probably been off base. Now, I didn't think that he would struggle quite this badly. I didn't think that he would have a 27 ERA on the mound in spring training, and I didn't think that he'd have he got a couple of hits, I think. That's certainly not what we expected. But there is going to be a growth curve. And also the other fact is that the Angels paid so little for him that, it would be disappointing if he doesn't pan out right away. But it's not like they've really lost anything or sacrificed anything. I'll tell you this. Right now, given what teams know after Shohei Ohtani's spring training, I would imagine that all 30 teams would immediately sign up to pay him the same contract that the Angels are paying him. It's just too early to call. Too early to call. Yes, he hasn't looked great, but there's so much time left, so much promise. The scouts are unlikely to have been so wrong about what they see in him that, I don't think anyone's panicking, including the Angels.
Gotcha. And I want to circle back to the Yankees for a minute. I am not a big fan of the Yankees whatsoever, but we're going to stay away from that. So you mentioned the free agent class of 2018 or 2018-19, I guess, headlined by Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. If the Yankees are paying Stanton all of this money, how much are they really going to be in the running for some of these big time guys? Because it seems like every Yankees fan out there thinks they're getting 3 or 4 great free agents next year, and it's just, is that financially possible?
Yeah, it is. And they're not going to get 3 or 4 of these guys, so it's not that crazy. But look, one of the key parts of the Giancarlo Stanton trade is that they were committed to staying below the luxury tax threshold for the first time in 18 years. And it's been for over a decade and a half. Each year, the Yankees have crossed that threshold, which has meant that they've had to send payments to the rest of the league as a penalty for having too high payroll. Now, one of their number one priorities this offseason was to get under that threshold, which would then be reset, and their penalties for exceeding it going forward would be much lower. So they figured out a way to add Stanton onto their team and stay under that threshold. They're not going to cross it this year, guys. That means that they've got a payroll that's going to be under $200 million this year, so that gives them certainly room to add basically anyone they want next year. But they also will be able to do it knowing that they won't have to pay a penalty to the rest of the league. There's no doubt that this entire strategy in some ways is focused on creating room in 2018 to add Harper or Machado, most likely. So 3 or 4 of them, no. But I think it's a guarantee that the Yankees will have a new superstar next spring to pair with Judge and Stanton.
So Ben, we want to jump in real quick before we let you go into your way too early predictions. We'll start kind of backwards because we know the answer to this one. Immediately after the Astros won the World Series last year, you doubled down and said, you know what, they're going to win it again in 2018. It looks as if, with SI's predictions coming out just last week or this week, that you're still doubled down. You still think the Astros will repeat in this October/November. Can I hear why?
Of course you can, because they're much better than they were last year, right? They didn't lose anybody, really, except for Carlos Beltran, who didn't hit a lot, but did have a real impact in that clubhouse. But besides him, they didn't lose anybody. And now they go into opening day, not just with one ace, as they had last year in Dallas Keuchel. Now they have 3 potential aces, in Keuchel, Justin Verlander, and Garrett Cole, for whom they traded from the Pirates over the offseason. Hasn't had a great last 2 years, but they have a way of bringing out the best in players via some of the ways they use analytics and coaching. I think Cole's going to have a great year. So they come in with the best lineup in the league, or at least, one that will rival the Yankees, and the best rotation the best rotation in the league as well. They're better than last year. I'm not picking them for any sentimental reasons. I'm not picking them for anything related to what might be good for the release of my book. I'm picking them because I genuinely believe this is the best team in the league. And to be honest, if you look at a lot of the projections from places like Fangraphs and Baseball Perspective, those systems agree with me.
And just to continue your predictions a little bit, who's winning the AL and NL MVPs?
I'm afraid, again, my predictions are not particularly controversial. I got Mike Trout, the AL MVP. Look, I know I could go out on more of a limb, but I'm just telling you what I really believe. That's the Astros, and that's also Mike Trout. If he comes in fourth last year when he missed more than a quarter of the season on the DL, I figure all he has to do is miss, no more than a month, and he's locked to win this thing. In the NL, I've got Bryce Harper. I don't think he needs any extra motivation, but look, let's be honest. He's going to be a free agent next year. Walk years do have a way of lifting already great production. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to gun for a Stanton 13-year, $325 million contract, which remains the biggest in the history of sports, but might not be that way in about 7 or 8 months.
Ben, with your lack of going out on a limb, I imagine you were the guy that picked like Virginia and Villanova to make the Final Four on your bracket.
Look, I figured that that I've gone out on a limb in a big national way in the past few years. I actually didn't even make a bracket this year, man. Like I don't know.
Oh, you didn't?
I'm trying to write a book in a couple of months. I didn't have enough time to do it. And it sounds like it was a good year not to make a bracket because somehow it seems like everybody's going to lose their offense pool.
It has indeed just been a shit show. Your last one for predictions. Let's jump into the Cy Young, both AL and NL.
All right, AL Cy Young, not particularly controversial. Justin Verlander, I think, has found the perfect match between a pitcher and a team. Verlander's a guy who is obsessed with tinkering, with making minor adjustments that are going to give him an edge. No team can give him better tools to do that than the Astros. I guess my Cy Young one is a bit of a dark horse here. It's Noah Syndergaard of the Mets.
Okay.
His year was ruined last year by a partially torn lat, but nobody has better stuff than him. All it takes is a full season, and this guy's going to be, the best pitcher in the league. You actually look at his ERA over the last 2 seasons. Yes, I know that he's made 28 fewer starts than Max Scherzer. He actually has a better ERA than the 2-time reigning NL Cy Young at 2.65. So I'm assuming that Syndergaard gets 30-plus starts. If he does that, I think he wins the Cy. And, really leads what I expect to be a much-improved Mets team potentially to the playoffs.
And I guess that wasn't exactly your last one for predictions because Alex and I actually have this little bet going on.
Oh, boy.
So he's in Wisconsin. He's in Wisconsin, so he's a big Brewers guy. I'm in North Carolina, so obviously we don't have a team. So I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan. So I just want to know, we got this bet going on. We got punishments involved and everything. Which team is going to have the better season, Brewers or Orioles?
Ooh, I'm afraid to say those are two of the teams I'm not particularly optimistic about in the league this year. The Orioles, even without Cobb, just don't have the pitching still, man. I mean, they just don't have it. They'll hit a lot of home runs, but especially in that division against the Red Sox and the Yankees, you need to be able to pitch a little bit, and they don't. The Brewers, I like a little bit better. I think that adding Lorenzo Cain and Christian Yelich will make the offense great. I don't think they have the pitching either. I know they came in 5th in the NL in the ERA last year, but I don't think Julius Chastain is the type of addition they needed. They really needed somebody like Jake Arrieta or even Alex Cobb. So while I like the Brewers better than the Orioles, I'm afraid to tell you both. I think both will finish a little under 500.
Well, when the Orioles win the World Series this year, I'm gonna rub it in your face.
Yeah, man, my reputation will be absolutely ruined.
I hope so. No offense. So my last question for you is: we're gonna have MLB Daily Dishes, which is SB Nation's MLB site. Chris Cotillo on the show later this week. So I just want to know real quick, Ben, is there any chance that me, you, Alex, and Chris can have a 4-man fantasy baseball league. Let's get this started. Let's do it.
A 4-man league? What's that mean? Does everybody has superstars up and down the roster?
That's right. That's what we need.
All right. Well, as long as you get only pick Orioles or Brewers or whatever, then I'll participate.
Hey, I'm down. I'll do it. I'll still win. I don't care. Let's do it.
Oh my. I love it. Well, that was Ben Reiter of Sports Illustrated. You can find him on Twitter at Ben Reiter, which is spelled Reiter. Ben Reiter on Twitter and on Sports Illustrated. He's writing a book. He's everywhere. It's baseball season, Ben. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Bandwagon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again to Ben Reiter of Sports Illustrated and Nolan Gerrity of UMBC. We had a sidekick, we had a Cinderella, and they were both great. So thanks to both of those guys for joining us today on the Bandwagon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. It's been about, 10 minutes since we talked last. Just wanted to check in.
It is. Should we really discuss what's going on the show?
Let's discuss what's going on the show.
Our technical problems.
Oh, yeah, we should.
So we're having a little bit of issues, guys. This episode is actually being published half and half. We're going back in time is what we're doing. We're getting in the time machine.
So we talked about this on our first episode of the year, and you were like, we're stuck in the podcast world, nobody knows. And I had no idea what the hell you were talking about, but now I do. Because my computer took a poop, everybody. I don't have a computer right now. Hard drive crashed. That's an expensive fix. Like $600 I'm looking at, so that's fun.
Okay.
I'm hoping I have another way around that, but that's beside the point. So right now it's actually, what is it, Thursday afternoon, and we recorded originally Tuesday night.
Yep.
It's been a long couple of days, and this episode technically came out on Wednesday. So
listen. So this is why the audio is probably a little different. Is the first half was recorded on a Skype recorder because we back up our episodes or try to back up our episodes on a Skype recorder. So the first half is Skype recorded, the second half is normal. So we apologize for any inconvenience. Also, Ben Reiter, just so you guys know, as you heard, we talk about opening day a little bit. Opening day was last week. So there you go.
Oh, and in that interview, I don't have my microphone audio because my computer crashed, so that's just all phone audio.
Oh, that's true.
Well.
There's a lot of technical difficulties going on, guys, but I hope you guys still enjoy the show.
Let's move on anyway.
The next half is gonna be smooth sailing. This next half is smooth sailing.
Let's hope so. Talk to me. What do you got?
All right. So as you guys heard, we did Vic's Picks, hashtag Vic's Picks with Nolan Gerrity, right? You remember that, Alex?
Yes, I do. I was there.
Yeah, you were there. And so I thought, you know what? I'm interested in these questions. So we're gonna discuss them. I'm gonna ask each question. Right. You're gonna give me your answer. I'm gonna give you my answer, and we're gonna talk.
It's a deal.
How's that sound? All right.
I love it.
So first one, Martha Stewart or Tony Stewart?
I'm really indifferent here. I don't care.
Are you sure? You got to pick one. So
give me Tony Stewart. Not a big Martha guy.
Well, what? Continue.
She kind of gave me the creeps back in the day.
Back in the day. So how often have you spent time looking at Martha Stewart?
She used to have a TV show or something when I was a child, and I didn't like it. She was creepy. She reminded me of like a weird neighbor that we all had, who like always had cooking ingredients, and like you'd go over there and she had cookies made, but she was just not a lady you enjoyed being around. That's what I got out of her, and yeah, I'm not a big Martha guy.
She's a very weird lady. But no, you remember Tony Stewart actually killed a guy. So
wait, what?
Yeah, Tony Stewart, he killed a guy.
Tony
on
Stewart
the racetrack.
did not kill a guy.
I swear, in my life, all my life, I swear. Listen, there was a racetrack, right? It was some weird, low quality video. It was a video of it. There's a video. You can look it up. There's a video of Tony Stewart killing a guy. It was like a racetrack with big cars. I don't even know what it was. And this guy crashes into something. He gets out of his car, walks out onto the track, and Tony Stewart just bang nails him. And it's so. I think everybody can agree it looks like Tony did it on purpose. There's time for Tony to move.
You think Tony Stewart intentionally killed a man?
Yes. And actually, right before the show, I actually read an article or saw the headline of an article. I didn't take the time to read it because I don't care about NASCAR or anything. I read the headline of an article that said Tony Stewart just settled a lawsuit with that guy's family.
Wow.
This is
Yeah.
incredible.
It was a settlement. Yeah. Yeah, watch the video. I swear on my life. I don't know. It might not be on the internet anymore. I don't know because it does. It's a guy he's dying. But dude, it was all over ESPN whenever it happened. Like they played the video on ESPN.
Wow.
I swear. Moving on.
I don't know how to feel.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should pick Martha Stewart at this point. I'm just saying. Food for thought. Food for thought. Jalen Ramsey or Jalen Rose?
I'm picking the diva, Jalen Ramsey.
Yes, sir. He's also way better at the sport than Jalen Rose, at his sport than Jalen Rose is, or was.
Hey, we're about to celebrate, what is it, the 25-year anniversary of timeout. They don't have any timeouts, technical foul.
Something like that, sure. I don't know how, I can't remember.
The
how many
Michigan,
years ago
North
that was.
Carolina, was that a national championship or a Final Four game?
It was a national championship game. Chris Webber.
Yep.
Go Heels. Number 3. Tiger Woods or Winnie the Pooh's home, 100 Acre Woods?
Wasn't a big Winnie the Pooh guy. So I'm going to go Tiger Woods here.
Here's the problem, Alex, is I was a big Winnie the Pooh guy. I love Pooh, love Piglet, love Tigger, Eeyore, all those guys.
What
weird
about
rabbit.
Christopher? Do you like Christopher?
Well, here's the problem, Alex, is I actually just found out, like last week, that Winnie the Pooh is all in Christopher's head.
Yes.
I thought he was going to this 100 Acre Woods and like chilling with these animals.
No.
Are you sure?
It's in his head.
How is it in his head? That makes it so depressing.
He had a disease, or not a disease. He's
got a disease?
Not a disease. He was like, what do they call those people? Hallucinate? He
did not have schizophrenia.
Yes, that's it. There we go. He had schizophrenia.
He did not.
He did. Look it up.
Is that like, okay, no. Is that like a fan theory, or is that like part of the show?
I'm pretty
he
sure
legit had schizophrenia.
It's not part of the show, but I'm pretty sure like the creators of Winnie the Pooh came out and were like, yeah, Christopher Robin had schizophrenia.
That bothers me a lot. That makes it really kind of depressing.
Well, dude, this has been a weird Vic's Picks. We found out Tony Stewart. Kill the man.
Found out that Christopher Robin had schizophrenia. And we're only 3 in. Only 3 in.
Hot start.
So next up is Nickelback or Humpback Whale?
Humpback Whale. I didn't even need to hear the second one.
Nickelback is terrible.
Yeah.
Although for Nolan Gerrity, he didn't need to hear the second one.
Yeah,
well, just like you. He didn't need to hear the second one either. Because like he was 100% go with Nickelback no matter what. He's a big Nickelback guy.
Yeah, on his Instagram, he said he was talking to Grant Hill about Nickelback.
I'm not going to lie, man. I think, is that really something you would want to do with your life? No offense, Nolan. You want to talk to Grant Hill about Nickelback?
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I mean, I could, if I was next to Grant Hill, I'd probably talk about something other than Nickelback. I'm just saying. Next up,
Fair.
Ray Charles or Charles Barkley?
Ray Charles, boy, look in your eyes. A girl like me ain't waiting all night. Ooh, boy, you better think twice. I got that honey, that sugar, that spice.
What are you doing?
Singing Ray Charles by Chitty Bang.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Isn't Ray Charles blind?
He's dead, but he was blind. Yeah, he was.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. He was a good fella. I'm picking Ray. My G, Ray. Ray Charles over Charles Barkley.
Your G, huh?
He is my G.
Would you say that if he was white?
Oh, dude, really? You gonna do this to me? Yes, I would say it if he was white. I've read 2 books about Ray Charles. Like I love Ray.
Why is he your G? Why can't he be your friend?
Because he's my homie. He's my homeboy. He's my guy. He's my friend. He's my amigo. He's whatever. What's friend in German? I don't know. He's X9. I don't know. Ray Charles is my friend, my best friend. How is that? Is that going to work for you?
That's good. I like that.
You're trying to get me in trouble, and I don't like it.
I'm sorry.
I really don't like that.
I just needed to check.
I'm assuming we're both going Ray Charles because we don't care about Charles Barkley, right? No offense, Charles.
Yeah. Go Auburn.
Okay. Go Auburn. War Eagle. Mike Greenberg or Seth Greenberg?
I'm going to go with Mike. I like the new morning show.
Nope. Who is his new morning show with?
It's called Get Up. It's on ESPN with Michelle Beadle and Jalen Rose.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That's probably the threesome that I probably would never want to hear in the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, that's what I've woken up to all week.
I'm so very sorry. I would go Seth Greenberg all the way, even though he's also He just gets on my nerves. He grinds my gears. Next up, Tony Bennett, Virginia's head coach, or Tony Hawk, the pro skateboarder.
See, so I'm conflicted here. I grew up on Tony Hawk, but me and Tony Bennett went to the same middle school.
Ooh, what?
Yeah. A little fun.
You went to the same middle school as Tony Bennett.
I did. Green Bay, Wisconsin. Go Eagles.
Wow.
So I'm conflicted here. I think I got to go Tony Hawk, though, man. That guy was a badass. Is a badass.
All he did was skateboard, though.
Yeah, that's fair. What happened to him?
He might be dead.
He's not dead.
He's either dead or probably an addict somewhere.
Hey, that's kind of discriminatory.
How's that discriminatory? Oh, is it because he's white? Like, are you trying to throw race at my face?
No, I'm saying because he's a skateboarder, you're saying he's probably tweaking out on crack. Tony Hawk isn't dead.
Okay,
or on drugs.
I'm gonna get Jim Nantz on it. He's not dead. He's 49 years old. Let's see the news.
He's not on drugs.
On March 31st, Tony Hawk is joining forces with Moto America for 2 days of something.
Of drugs.
Probably of heroin. So that's cool. All right. Hey, he's strung out.
Awesome. Great.
By the way, this is a side question. Is Tony Bennett the most attractive coach in America?
I don't know.
Okay, don't sit there and say, I'm a guy, I can't say if guy's attractive. Yes, you can. Shut up.
Wisconsin guys do it best. Green Bay guys do it best. Edison middle school guys do it best.
Is Tony Bennett the most attractive coach in America?
I'm saying yes because we went to the same middle school.
He's pretty nice looking.
I'm biased.
He's a handsome guy.
I'm biased.
Okay, I understand. Next up, Nolan Gerrity or Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh, well, it's not the Chuck E. Cheese guy, so Gerrity.
Why not the Chuck E. Cheese guy? You're not a Chuck E. Cheese fan?
Victor, I had my birthday party there when I was a young child, multiple times. Okay. And so they have the mascot, which is like in a suit, like the guy that walks around, takes your picture. Didn't mind him. But then they also had the robots on stage.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was just one robot in my location. And then I think they had a screen behind them with other robots, but they were like on a screen playing drums and shit. But the Chuck E. Cheese would do like the weird robot motions, and its eyes were creepy, and its mouth would move weird, and I was scared shitless of them. But they wanted you to go over there for your birthday because that's what they wanted you to do for your birthday. But I couldn't do it because I didn't like them. I hate Chuck E. Cheese. It scares me.
I don't know if I was afraid of the robots, but they're really creepy.
They are.
Like, I don't know about yours, but we had like a band. There was like 4 or 5 of them up there.
So like, rather than the screen, you actually had like 5.
Yeah, one of them was it wasn't the same characters, like 4 or 5 different characters.
Right, yeah.
And there was like one of them was playing like the trash can drums, the other was playing a little banjo. Maybe it's because we're in the South. I don't know. Maybe they thought oh, the kids love that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Banjo's a big deal down there, huh?
It's not at all, actually. That's stereotyping. So please don't do that again.
I'm sorry.
You guys are. I don't have a stereotype for Wisconsin, so.
We drink a lot of alcohol, and most of us are overweight.
Sure. That apply. One of those applies to our friend here.
Who's our friend?
You.
Oh.
Moving on.
Anyway.
Moving on. Blanket forts or Fortnite?
See, this is another tough one for me. Victor, last night I downloaded the Fortnite app for my phone, played 2 games, got 4th place the first one, 3rd place the second one. I'll talk a little bit more about Fortnite in a little bit. But yeah.
Are you going to answer the question? I don't.
Oh, Fortnite.
You're not going to go blanket forts.
I'm not going to go nostalgia, no.
Why?
I'm a big Fortnite guy.
So all of a sudden, Fortnite comes on the scene, and you'd pick that over the childhood blanket forts.
I only made a couple blanket forts my whole life.
I made a blanket fort like 2-3 months ago, actually.
How'd that go?
It went very well. There was a cat that jumped on it and collapsed it.
Good.
But it happened multiple times during the night. But it was fun. It was a good time.
Friends, not food.
That's the shirt I have on. You're right.
No, I was just referring to the cat.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. Same thing there. Yeah, that's all I got for you. That's all the Vic's picks.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does that cat have a name?
The cat that jumped on the fort?
Yeah.
Bella, I believe, was the cat.
Nice.
That's really... What's that got to do with anything? Yeah, Bella. Skittish little thing. Jumped on the fort. Yep. This is the most awkward silence ever. Why are you just sitting there?
I'm playing the quiet game.
Why are you playing
I win.
You don't make any sense. Okay, I'm upset about some things, and I've been upset about some things. Can we please get on with it?
Let's do it. I'm mad too.
Okay, well, who's going first then? Partner? Does that mean you're going first?
I'm going first. Victor, can you do me a favor?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Can you go to YouTube and pull up the Yodel Kid for me?
I mean, I know what it is, but sure, yeah.
Just look up Yodel Kid. Because I have an issue with him. So if you're unaware, if you've been living under a rock, this kid was in the middle of Walmart, went viral because he's wearing cowboy boots, dressed up like a cowboy, started yodeling. Here he is. Bye. I'm not saying he's bad, but he's not bad. He's good at what he does. But why are you in the middle of Walmart doing this? Why? It's annoying to me. Like, do it on the street. Do it in your house. But they are the reason Amazon is now beating Walmart. Because I don't want to... If I went to Walmart and I saw him doing that, I would probably kick him right in the fucking face.
Dude, he's an awesome kid.
He's good. I'm not saying he's bad. But when I'm at Walmart, I'm never in a good mood. This isn't the Walmart one, is it?
Yes, it is. It's the extended version.
Oh.
2 minutes.
There's an extended version.
Yes, sir.
Not a big
no,
fan.
I'm upset with you.
That's what I'm angry about.
It might be the greatest song ever.
It's the worst thing to happen to the internet since the SpongeBob memes. The Krusty Krab and Chumbucket.
No, sir. No, sir.
This might top it. It's awful.
This song has been stuck in my head for days. Every free moment in my head. Like I was sitting at dinner last night. Wow, that was bad. Me and my man Alec Toby, we were just sitting at dinner last night. We weren't talking for a second, and I was just sitting there eating my food, and in my head was blasting the Yodel song.
Can you sing it for us? Let's just say goodbye.
That was awful.
He's great, but it's just annoying to me.
No, here's the thing, Alex, is earlier in the Vic's picks, I should have said Jalen Ramsey or Mason Ramsey, because that's his name.
Okay.
And he's actually, he's one of my favorites, probably of all time.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, he's the man.
So you got a good story for your soapbox. You're a little ticked off.
I am. I've got 2 soapboxes, really. One of them, it was just kind of like, I just realized this. You've watched The Sandlot, right?
I have. Great movie. Childhood. Nostalgia.
Is it, though? Is it really that good of a movie? I thought so, too, until I decided to read an article on Deadspin, which, you know I'm a big Deadspin guy.
You're a big Deadspin guy.
I'm a big Deadspin guy. And this woman named Hannah Keyser decided to finally watch The Sandlot for the first time. Not only that, but The Sandlot actually turned 25 years old this past weekend. And even MLB teams, like your Milwaukee Brewers,
yep,
they were celebrating the anniversary of the movie. So she decided to watch it. And she had some interesting takes that kind of makes sense to me. So I'm going to read a couple. She said something like, or not something like, this is a direct quote from the article. Not having any nostalgia for the movie certainly dampened my enjoyment of it, but so did the fact that 2 of the main characters appear to be sexist little creeps. The you play ball like a girl.
Sexist little creeps.
The you play ball like a girl didn't exactly endear me to the heroes, nor did the weird kid in glasses sexually assaulting a lifeguard. Okay, makes sense. is thinking it's bad for a preteen boy to pretend to be drowning so he can forcibly shove his tongue into a girl's mouth just an overly precious manifestation of modern wokeness? I don't think so. And anyway, the movie isn't good enough to receive the benefit of the doubt. Right? It kind of makes sense. Right?
You're a hater.
No, it's weird. The actors are odd. The kid
That's
shoves
the point.
Okay, I get it. I understand that, but they're just weird to the point where it's kind of like, yeah. Like, I haven't watched The Sandlot since I was about 8 years old. And I think it's because in my brain I have this negative connotation of it for some reason. Because it kind of is like, ugh. Like, it's a weird movie.
Yeah, that's the point.
The dude throws up and the dude just blows chunks on that roller coaster.
Uh-huh.
It's just disgusting. This is a disgusting movie. I agree with Hannah Keyser.
So what's your soapbox?
That's my soapbox. Is I think The Sandlot's stupid and we should never watch it again. We should ban it. That's a suggestion circle thing for you. Ban it from America.
I hate you.
I hate you as well. Now, actually, going off that, my real soapbox is actually another article that Hannah Keyser wrote.
Wow.
That says, Twins mad that the other team was trying to. Now, this happened a few days ago when we recorded the second part of the show on Tuesday night, and then the technical difficulties happened, blah, 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 blah. It was really fresh, but now it really is it was about a week ago, right?
Yep.
Where Brian Dozier, however you say his last name,
Dozier.
Brian Dozier. Brian Dozier and a couple of other Twins players are upset. Are a little upset, Alex. So the Minnesota Twins and the Baltimore Orioles were playing. Chance Sisco was up to bat. It was the bottom of the ninth. It was 7-0 in a one-hitter. So it wasn't a no-hitter. It was a shutout. It was 7-0. Chance Sisco comes up to bat for the Baltimore Orioles. He bunts. The defense shifts way towards the first baseline. He bunts, and he gets on base. And Brian Dozier and a couple of other Twins players are upset, saying that he shouldn't have done that. He violated one of the unwritten rules by bunting in that situation.
I hate this.
In what way is that against any kind of rule? What unwritten rule says, oh, you can't bunt the ball when you're trying to start a rally for your team?
Shifts are stupid anyway. What? I mean, I understand them, but shifts are stupid if you don't want people to bunt that don't shift.
Well, here's the other thing, though, is if this is a situation where essentially Chance Sisco, they're saying he should have even tried to get on base because the game's over or whatever, then why are you shifting?
Exactly.
If the game's over and it doesn't matter, just don't shift. He wouldn't have bunted. He saw an open field there towards the third baseline. He's going to take that. So he did it. And Brian Dozier just can't get over it. So I decided, after being so freaking tired of Brian Dozier's BS, I decided to take to Twitter. I was a Twitter warrior. Twitter fingers turned to trigger fingers, right? I got on Twitter. I went off on Brian Dozier, called him a whining baby. No, that's what Drake said, not Drake. Isn't that what Drake said, back-to-back? Pretty sure back-to-back, like the cover of Lethal Weapon. So, I took to Twitter and went off on Brian Dozier. And by the way, there's a new hashtag going around that I'm starting called hashtag Whinin' Dozier instead of Brian Dozier. Whinin' Dozier. I think it's fun. So hashtag Whinin' Dozier.
How many other people have used it? Just you?
Probably not any, but I'll get it started eventually. Here, it's going to appear on the show, and then everybody's going to use it. Watch. So I wake up the next morning. That was like midnight a couple of nights ago. I wake up the next morning. Guess who blocked me on Twitter?
Whinin' Dozier.
Whinin' Dozier. So there you go. Whinin' Dozier, you're a biatch. Minnesota Twins, y'all are biatches. Learn how to play baseball and stop whining, effers. You're creating a crybaby culture. Hensley out.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm upset. It's stupid. It's silly. By the way, I'm just going to let you know, Dozier in the ninth inning, this happened like last night, or maybe the night before. Dozier in the ninth inning, up 4 runs, stole a base. They're up 4 runs in the ninth inning, and Brian Dozier stole a base.
I don't like it. What position does he play?
Second base, I believe.
I hate him. Can we go to a Twins game? Just yell at him?
Heckle him the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I'm down. I don't have a problem with that.
It's a plan. It's a plan. I'm there.
Okay. You know what I just realized?
What's that?
It's because of the technical difficulties you couldn't do the horn for Soapbox.
Yep.
That's very sad.
Isn't it?
Well, I guess it's time for our last segment of the show. We're just jumping on a bandwagon. Am I going first or you going first? You went first last time. You want me to go first?
Go ahead.
Alex.
Yes, that's my name.
I found out a feature on my phone.
Well, you're a big fan of this.
I am a big fan that I wish I would have known 3 weeks ago. It was so under-advertised. And every March Madness fan, when they find out about this, is going to be upset.
Yep.
I'm sure many people, including myself, downloaded the March Madness app to watch some of the games on the road, wherever you are, in the swimming pool, wherever. It's springtime, so swimming pool's fun. At the ballpark, you went to the MLB opening day. I mean, stuff like that. Even stuff like that.
Did you say the swimming pool?
I did say swimming pool.
I got 6 inches of snow the other day. I'm not going to the swimming pool.
Well, you're right there along with Juan and Dozier. Crybaby.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. So on the March Madness app, apparently there's this AR bracket, a augmented reality bracket. You can legit point it at a wall or a table or something, and the bracket will pop up. And you can lock it in place so the bracket's there, and you can actually get up and walk around and point the bracket, point your phone at different parts of the wall or whatever, and the bracket will zoom in, and it'll go to different regions of the bracket. You can click on each matchup. You can pop up Sister Jean right there in augmented reality, he's right there. I did it.
I was a witness.
I sent you a screen capture thing.
Sister Jean was my witness.
Sister Jean was your witness. It is the coolest thing probably ever, and nobody talked about it during March Madness time.
Yeah.
And this would have been so... You can literally watch highlights, and it looks like it's real, in time, with you. It's crazy. It's insane, Alex. Insanity!
It's insanity here in the bandwagon.
Yes, sir.
Is that the bandwagon you're jumping on?
That's the I'm jumping on the bandwagon of augmented reality brackets.
Well, Victor, I am jumping on the bandwagon. I talked about Fortnite a little bit. I'm jumping on the bandwagon of the thrill of victory. Now, that said, over the weekend, I had a big deal. I won my first ever game of Fortnite. Let's take a listen to the live reaction after I won my first solo game of Fortnite. Now, although you cannot see me jumping 5 feet in the air, as you can imagine, I was jumping roughly 13 inches in the air, which is probably as high as I can jump. But nonetheless, I was extremely excited, and it was a big day for me, Victor.
I mean, it seems like it was. I'm not going to lie, though. You're not very good at the game of Fortnite.
Why am I not very good?
It took you a long time to get your first dub.
I don't own a system. I don't play as often as you think I do.
You play a lot.
You know what? You're just a hater.
I randomly called you the other day, and you were like, I'm playing Fortnite. Hold on. I'm telling you. You play a lot. You've only gotten one win?
You're a hater.
I've gotten more wins than you.
You've gotten 2.
I have gotten 2. I got 1 in duos. I played it essentially by myself in duos.
So you only have 1 solo win?
No. I have 2 solo wins. I have 1 duo win that I did by myself. Because me and Natalie were playing, and she took an L hard at the beginning.
Okay.
And I carried the team. She died with 90 people left. I went out and just ransacked
and you
everybody.
won the whole thing?
I won the whole thing. On God.
How many kills did you have?
Probably 1.
Okay.
No, I'll probably have about 3 or 4.
Fair enough.
So,
all right. Well, take care. God bless.
Okay, well, that's how we end our phone calls. We don't end the show like that. Do better.
Okay, sorry. Thank you again to Nolan Gerrity of UMBC and Ben Reiter of Sports Illustrated for joining us today to talk basketball, baseball, everything else we talked about. Thank you to Victor, as always, for joining me. You can find him on Twitter at FreeZeal33. You can connect with the show on Twitter using hashtag BandwagonPod. You can find me on Twitter at Alex_Strofe. My name's Alex. His name's Victor. Until next time.
Until next time. Lovely people. Lovely. Miss C, this for you. It's your boy V-Hen. I'm at A-Tobe ain't here right now. But you know I'm gonna hold it down. You know I got y'all. They didn't think we'd come at him with it again. 2018, baby. The remix. One day I was walking down the street. I was really thirsty, so I walked to Pete's. I was really thirsty, so I walked to Pete's. Had a big glass of water, then I had to pee. Big glass of water, then I had to pee. So I ran all the way home, and I opened up the door. Ran all the way home, I opened up the door. Ran straight to the potty, thought I couldn't hold it anymore. Right to the door, to the potty, yeah. To the potty, ran straight to the potty, yeah. Ran straight to the potty, yeah. I lifted up the seat, then I began to pee. I lifted up the seat, then I began to pee. I lifted up the seat, then I began to pee. Yeah, I lifted up the seat, then I began to pee. It went from the kidneys to the urethra, down to the bladder, where it all matters. Then to the urethra, where I have to release ya out the urinary meatus. Then it exited my penis, yeah. Yeah. Later on that night, I had a pain gun, could not fight. I was dizzy and I had to throw up. My temperature was high, as you know what. I couldn't take it anymore. So I had to go to the doctor. Yeah, I had to go to the doctor. Then I got checked out. The boy was about to pass out. Then the doctor came in to give me my diagnosis. Last night I was up until 10, worrying about this prognosis. Last night I was up until 10, worried about this prognosis. He said, well, Houston, we have a problem. I said, whatever it is, doc, we're gonna solve it. Yeah, whatever it is, doc. I said, whatever, man. I said, whatever, dog. I said, whatever, doc. We're gonna solve it. Yeah, I'm about to put down this microphone. Down this, about to put down this microphone. About to put it down. Y'all wanna know what it was? Y'all know what it was? Y'all know what that diagnosis was? It was a kidney stone. Man. It's a kidney stone. Are we out? Kill that, Alex Strofe.